Right now, somewhere in your pocket or on your desk, a small rectangle of glass is waiting. You know the one. You haven't looked at it in the last 6 minutes, and some part of your brain is already itching. That itch feels natural. It feels like just how brains work. But it isn't. For most of human history, your mind could lock onto a single task for hours, without flinching, without checking, without needing anything else. Something took that from you. And it happened faster than almost any change in the story of our species. Start with a simple question. How long can you focus on one thing right now, without your attention sliding somewhere else? Researcher Gloria Mark spent over a decade tracking this exact number in real offices, watching real people work on real screens. In the early 2000s, the average person held focus on a single task for about 2.5 minutes before switching. By the 2020s, that number had fallen below 47 seconds. Not 2 minutes, not 1 minute, 47 seconds. Your attention span, measured in a lab, is now shorter than most commercial breaks. That should stop you for a second. Because your brain, biologically, is the same brain your ancestors carried. Across ice fields and grasslands 12,000 years ago. Same wiring, same neurons, same capacity. So if the hardware hasn't changed, something else has. Here is where the story gets strange. Ancient humans were not scattered, twitchy, half-focused creatures glancing over their shoulder every few seconds. Deep focus wasn't a luxury for them. It was survival equipment. Tracking a wounded animal for 6 or 8 hours straight, reading a broken twig, a bent blade of grass, a partial print in dry soil, required a level of sustained attention that would break most modern minds within the hour. Anthropologist James Sussman, who spent years living among the Jew/Huansi people of the Kalahari, documented something that upended a long-held assumption. Hunter-gatherer societies were once imagined as locked in constant exhausting labor, scraping by hour after hour just to survive. Sussman's fieldwork showed the opposite. Foraging for food often took only a few hours a day. The rest of the time was open, unhurried, and when tasks did happen, whether tracking, tool-making, or storytelling around a fire, they were done with total unbroken presence. No pull to check somewhere else, no competing demand vibrating in a pocket. Think about that contrast for a moment. Your ancestor, sharpening a spear point by firelight, worked on that single spear for as long as it took, an hour, 2 hours. There was no second spear glowing nearby, begging for a glance. There was no notification interrupting the stone. Attention flowed toward one object and stayed there, because nothing in the environment was built to fracture it. Now look at your environment. It was built to fracture you on purpose. Economist and cognitive scientist Herbert Simon saw this coming decades before smartphones existed. Back in 1971, Simon wrote a warning that reads like prophecy today. He argued that in a world overflowing with information, the scarce resource would no longer be information itself. It would be attention. Whoever could capture that attention would hold real power. He wasn't describing social media. Social media didn't exist yet. But he had already spotted the trap taking shape. Fast forward 50 years and entire industries now exist for one purpose: pulling your focus away from whatever it's currently on. Every app, every feed, every red notification bubble is engineered by teams of people whose job is to interrupt you more effectively than the app beside it. Your ancestors' biggest distraction was the wind changing direction. Yours is a system built by thousands of engineers competing to be the loudest voice in your skull. Here's the counterintuitive twist. Your brain isn't broken. It's doing exactly what brains are supposed to do. Human attention evolved as a threat detection system first, and a task completion system second. A rustle in the grass had to interrupt whatever you were doing immediately, because ignoring it could mean death. That reflex kept your ancestors alive for hundreds of thousands of years. It's not a flaw, it's a feature tuned by evolution to prioritize sudden change over steady focus. The problem is that this ancient alarm system built for the occasional lion in the grass now fires constantly, dozens of times an hour, for things that were never actual threats. A message, a like, a headline. Your brain treats each one with the same interrupt priority as a predator, because it has no built-in way to tell the difference between real danger and a marketing algorithm. So every time your phone buzzes, a switch flips inside you. Cortisol rises slightly. Dopamine spikes. Your brain briefly convinces itself that checking is urgent, even life or death, the same way checking a rustling bush once was. Neuroscientists who study this switching cost have found something brutal. After an interruption, it can take over 20 minutes to fully return to the depth of focus you had before. 20 minutes, gone, from a 5-second glance. Multiply that by the dozens of interruptions most people experience daily, and you start to see why deep, sustained focus feels almost impossible now. It isn't that you've become lazier or weaker-minded than the humans who came before you. It's that your ancient alarm system is being triggered on a schedule. No human nervous system was ever designed to survive. There's a modern mirror to all of this, and it's uncomfortable. Sussman's research suggested something else about those unhurried hours the Jew/Huanzi spent between tasks. That open time wasn't wasted. It was where rest happened, where relationships were maintained, where boredom was allowed to simply exist instead of being immediately filled. Modern life treats every empty moment, a line at the store, a red light, a quiet elevator ride, as a gap that must be plugged with a screen. Ancient humans let those gaps breathe. You fill yours in under 3 seconds. And that filling has a cost researchers are only beginning to fully map. Gloria Mark's later work found that constant task switching doesn't just fragment your day, it raises stress levels measurably. Even when you don't consciously notice the strain, your body registers the switching as a low hum of alarm. Hour after hour, the same nervous system response your ancestor felt when something moved in the grass. Except now it's triggered by a group chat notification instead of a predator. So what actually stole your focus wasn't a single app or a single invention. It was a slow, deliberate optimization spanning decades, aimed directly at the oldest, most sensitive part of your brain. The part that once kept you alive by noticing everything. That same sensitivity is now a resource being harvested, second by systems that profit every time your attention jumps. None of this means the ability is gone forever. The same brain that can hold a 47-second glance can still relearn what it once did instinctively. Attention is not fixed, it's trainable. The same way it was trained by hours of tracking, hours of tool making, hours of watching fire. What's missing now isn't the capacity, it's the conditions. Long, uninterrupted stretches without a device demanding to be checked. The kind of stretches your ancestors moved through every single day without ever calling it discipline. So tonight, when that small rectangle of glass buzzes on the table beside you, notice the pull. Notice how automatic it feels, how ancient the reflex underneath it actually is. That urge isn't weakness. It's 12,000 years of survival instinct, aimed at a threat that was never really there. Somewhere behind that 6-minute itch is still the same mind that once tracked a wounded animal for 6 hours without looking away. It hasn't disappeared. It's just waiting for a world quiet enough to let it work again.